In Cairo, Egypt, 5 years ago, Piranha hacked an extremely secure government facility in a matter of seconds. Then she informed her team to carry on. Shark bashed into a police officer from nowhere, disguising in the police uniform to deceive the second officer. Meanwhile, Piranha kept on hacking the systems. Next up, Snake opened a hole atop an aquarium, while Wolf flew towards the building in a wingsuit. It happened that they were all working together to aid Mrs. Tarantula, the newest member of the gang, in her very first heist. The alarms in the building started beeping profusely, and it was at this particular moment Wolf made his way into the building, through the hole Snake opened earlier in the aquarium. Wolf landed in a superfly way, after which the whole team came together at that very spot. The governor got extremely scared on seeing it's the bad guys before him, and in his moment of weakness, he called them monsters. Wolf intended to scare the hell out of him to prove his point, but instead opened the safe housing a super prototype car. The governor tried stopping them from going close to the car, insisting the car is one of a kind, but all his efforts were pointless as they totally ignored him. Moments later, the bad guys all hopped into the car, but before they left, Snake left a parting gift for the governor. It was a bomb inside. To the governor's astonishment. The bad guys then drove off in an utterly awesome fashion, speeding out of the building through a massive window. Few minutes later, the bomb exploded in the governor's office, but it happened to be just a harmless prank by the conmen. Wolf made sure to enjoy the prototype car to the fullest. Cops even started chasing after them as they were criminals. To loose some of the police officers on their tail, Wolf swerved the car onto a building to jump over a cart in the market, and his plan worked perfect well. Wolf kept on using countless tactics to shake off the cops, but they were just too many in number. Tarantula pointed towards the bridge, insisting it's their exit, so Wolf skillfully swerved through the massive traffic in front of him, but the police created a blockade at the beginning of the bridge just before they got there. Wolf didn't back down, rather he stepped on the throttle more aggressively, and to their great surprise he took a ramp close to the bridge. Then Tarantula hacked a construction iron to magnet the car and keep it from falling. The construction iron eventually landed on the cops, while the bad guys escaped successfully. Back to the present day in Los Angeles, Wolf slowly tried to park his utterly faulty car, but ended up bashing another person's own in the process. This was his new life after the bad guys surprisingly went good. Wolf then explained in details why they chose to turn good. After a failed heist attempt with Diane, the bad guys willingly turned themselves in, and were released on short notice after serving their sentence in jail. They tried their best to be good citizens and be welcomed by everyone, but because of their past records, no employer accepted to employ any of them to their company. Wolf pleaded with the bank manager to give him a chance to show he's changed now, so the manager promised to give him a call, but it was only a facade to get him to leave the office, as immediately he left, the manager shredded his employment letter instantly. On getting home, Wolf scanned through his mail and realized he had been evicted, but he still managed to smile through the pain. The next day, Wolf visited the rest of the crew, and it was then they opened up to themselves how all the employers refused to accept them. Wolf gave them a motivational speech, insisting with time things would get better. Shark told him they can't be redeemed again, because they already gotten framed for another crime they didn't commit, which was executed by the Phantom Bandits. Watching the footage from the camera, Wolf figured the culprit used their exact strategy to carry out the heist. Few minutes later, Snake, who isn't always around these days, came inside unbothered and flashy. He didn't waste much time with them, rather he just switched his clothes and headed back out immediately, claiming he's going to a wrestling tournament. When he eventually left, their suspicion drew towards him as the Phantom Bandit. The next day, in the process of boxing with Diane, Wolf told her about how their situation went down and the mess they're currently in. Unlike them, Diane revealed she had it easy as no one knew her as part of the bad guys, making it easy for her to start life afresh and become the new governor. Wolf and Diane were having a moment, but Diane's secretary, Maurice, barged in to remind her of her appointment at the children fundraiser in the next 20 minutes. Wolf was proud of Diane for the woman she has become. Before she left, she inspired him not to lose hope and keep fighting for his redemption. Inspired by those few words, a bright idea popped in his head on a way to redeem the bad guy's reputation. The commissioner of police was flabbergasted to see Wolf seated in her office, but he convinced her not to panic and lend him a listening ear. Wolf proposed a win-win situation. I'll help you catch the Phantom Bandits, while you'll help clear the bad guy's name. The commissioner was reluctant at first to agree, but she eventually gave in when Wolf unraveled how the facility was infiltrated, a feat the commissioner wasn't able to solve. Needing a high-tech computer expert, Tarantula entered the frame to trace how the bandits hacked into the secure system. Wolf suggested they still need an inside man to solve the case quicker, and that was when Shark's services were summoned. Within few seconds of analyzing the board, Shark was able to discover a suspicious picture where one of the bandits disguised as a janitor. To answer the real question on how the bandit got in, Piranha was called to solve the last piece of the puzzle. They decided to call the last member of the group to join the investigation, but his number kept on entering voicemail and wasn't reachable. Wolf decided to improvise by looking for what all the stolen artifacts have in common, and he discovered they were all linked to a special metal called the Modafinite, so they planned to use the metal to ascertain where the phantom bandits are going to strike next. After the commissioner ordered them out of her office, they all celebrated while driving home for successfully getting a means to finally clear their name. While researching, Tarantula uncovered that the most popular Modafinite object is the Belt of Guantalamango. On hearing this, Shark told them the belt is the championship trophy for the Lord of Lucha Wrestling tournament, and surprisingly, it was the exact same place Snake informed them he was going to earlier. They laughed their hearts out thinking Snake was going to be participating in the wrestling, but all of a sudden, it dawned on Wolf that Snake has been the culprit all these while, as all his events matched the exact same time of the crime. They got very angry as they didn't expect Snake to be a snake. Almost immediately, Wolf received a call from the commissioner who informed them she has cracked the case. This news left them immensely petrified, as they planned to get to him before the commissioner does, but now it's already a bit too late to help him. Instantaneously, Shark jump-started the car, then they headed to the venue with great urgency. Moments later, they arrived at the event in their wrecked car, after which they angrily proceeded to the stage in search of Snake. The commissioner met them outside before they got in, but Shark knocked her out due to reflex. Wolf tendered an apology to her, then locked her up inside the toilet. As this was happening, they sighted Snake from afar and immediately jumped him, only to later discover that he came there with his new girlfriend, Susan. Snake imminently introduced Susan to the crew, claiming they only came here to have a good time and nothing else. Meanwhile, a champion emerged in the wrestling tournament, so the lucha announcer ordered for the belt to be lowered down. Before the belt could get to the winner, a wild boar named Petrova slowly approached the ring. She challenged the winner of the tournament to a fight for the belt. Seeing this unfold, the bad guys hurriedly made their way to the ring to expose the fraud. The Lady Warrior slammed the champion on the ground like he was some nobody, but as she was about to end it all, the bad guys intervened. The lucha announcer, ignorant of what was happening, announced a rumble fight where all the wrestlers had a chance to win the belt. Petrova still remained dominant, despite all the various attacks directed her way. She eventually bounced all of them out of the ring, remaining only the bad guys who stood in her way. Petrova, still relentless, clashed with the bad guys, but unfortunately, they were the one who came out victorious. Wolf exposed Petrova and informed the crowd of her real mission here, which is to carry out a heist, but before he could look up, the lucha belt was nowhere to be found. Not knowing, Petrova clipped the belt to Piranha's mouth in bid to frame them. Instantaneously, the entire crowd turned against the bad guys, launching a massive stampede on them, as they were now sure the bad guys are not capable of changing. As they were running away, the commissioner was left astounded seeing Piranha running away with the lucha belt. Then she angrily joined in the chase as she felt they betrayed her trust. On spur of moment, the bad guys got surrounded by police officers from all angles, but just when they felt all hope was lost, Susan arrived in a food van and helped them to escape. Unfortunately, the commissioner wasn't ready to give up pursuit anytime soon, as she hung onto the van and shaked it rigorously, causing it to tumble and toss the commissioner away, whilst the bad guys escaped successfully with Susan. On the commissioner's instructions, all the police vehicles in the vicinity prepared to go after the criminals. Petrova, on the other hand, called her boss to inform her everything is going according to plan. On their way, Susan offered the crew vitamin pills as snack, but only Wolf refused to accept it from her. Periodically, Snake narrated the story of how he and Susan fell in love, and the dramatic moment they encountered each other for the first time. Using a payphone, Wolf explained the situation to Diane the Governor, on how they were framed for a crime they committed unintentionally. She believed his story, so she told him to lay low, trust no one, and believe she'll be able to get to the bottom of the situation. Immediately after the call, Diane took out a suitcase from her box and headed out, as she knew the person likely to be responsible for the heist. Wolf headed back to the van to give the good news to his comrades, but on opening the van door, he was shocked to see them all passed out excepting only Susan, who immediately shot him with a tranquilizer so he can join the others. By the time the bad boys eventually woke up, they unearthed they've been kidnapped by a similar group to theirs, called the Bad Girls, of whom consists of 3 badass ladies, named Kitty Cat, Pigtail and their leader who previously disguised as Susan, Doom. Although they were betrayed, her actions made Snake love Doom even greater than before. Kitty proposed they need professionals to aid them in carrying out one final heist, and that's it. The bad guys insisted they weren't going to help out, so Kitty threatened to reveal Diane's past as the Crimson Paw. Seeing this, they literally had no other option than to help, or risk Diane being a public enemy and losing her governor's office. Kitty showed them the mission, which was to help her steal a Moon X rocket. Elsewhere, Diane visited a very secure prison secluded in the ocean. She came to visit her previous foe, Professor Marmalade, in prison. After a little back and forth, the professor revealed Kitty and her gang plan to use the Moon X space rocket to steal all of the world's gold. The Phantom Bandits provided the bad guys with all the necessary equipments they'll be needing for the heist, after which, Doom gave them the plan, which was to attend a state-of-the-art wedding as random guests, but with a mission to steal Moon's watch, which was the only thing capable of unlocking the rocket. They infiltrated the wedding moments later, all dressed in different disguises to match the special occasion. Snake, on the other hand, focused on breaking into Mr. Moon's safe, as it was all part of the plan. After unlocking the safe, Snake turned off all the surveillance cameras in the building. Pigtail then infiltrated the inner chambers in the guise of an electrician, not knowing she was actually sneaking Tarantula in to hack all the systems in the building. Meanwhile, Kitty arrived at the venue in a luxurious limousine, dropping Wolf off as a special guest invited personally by Mr. Moon. Moon had a special glass that evaluates his guest's net worth, so Tarantula hacked into the glass to make Mr. Moon view Wolf as a wealthy man and give him special treatment. Just when Wolf was about to switch the watch, he sighted the former governor whom they previously stole his special car, coming towards them, and this made him miss the opportunity to steal the watch, as he was scared his cover would be blown. Due to this occurrence, Mr. Moon left to attend to other pressing matters, ruining Wolf's plan. Kitty assisted Wolf almost immediately to prevent the ex-governor from recognizing him. Everything started falling apart, and their plan started slowly failing, so Kitty brought out the Flash and threatened to publish Diane's secret if they don't find a way to get the watch and complete the mission. It was already time for the wedding, so the bride proceeded elegantly on the red carpet towards the podium. Unbeknownst to them, it was Wolf disguised as the bride. Elsewhere, the ex-governor tried his best to remember where he knows Wolf from. Instantaneously, Shark arrived as the priest to preside over the wedding, and he did it in a very crazy and unusual way. The ex-governor finally remembered Wolf as the leader of the bad guys. Then he attempted alerting everyone, but it was already too late as the deed had already been done. The team kicks off their mission by successfully swiping Mr. Moon's smartwatch during his wedding. As promised, Kitty hands over the footage to Wolf on a flash drive, but double-crosses them right after the bad guys record her confession. Kitty uploads the clip online, exposing Diane's hidden identity to the world, clearing Marmalade's name and notifying the authorities of the bad guys' whereabouts. Diane catches up with the girls just before they can board the rocket, but Kitty reveals the footage is already public and tranquilizes Diane, who manages to sneak aboard while only partially conscious. Luggins arrests the bad guys but confesses she has faith in them and helps them get onto the rocket using a helicopter. Though Pigtail and Doom hesitate to fight the bad guys, Kitty stays determined and forces the magnetizer to draw in a huge haul of gold. When Wolf confronts her, she smashes the remote controlling the magnet. Still, Wolf cleverly steals back the smartwatch, which he uses to steer the rocket into the space station, shattering the magnet and sending the gold back to Earth. Furious, Kitty tries to kill Wolf, but Diane recovers just in time and defeats her. Diane and Wolf reconcile, sharing a kiss. As the space station crashes toward Earth, the bad guys regroup while Pigtail and Doom escape in a pod with Kitty. After the crash, Kitty ends up in jail, Doom and Pigtail are given community service, and Luggins fakes the deaths of the bad guys and Diane so they can secretly work as undercover agents. Thanks for watching, guys. If you love animation movies like this, please like, subscribe, and comment. Thank you.